I chose to write my ethics paper on the foster care system and the moral issues that are in the foster care system. So I'm focusing on three issues: abuse, getting kicked out at 18, and moving from one place to the next. I believe there are more issues like the lack of funding that's in foster care, the lack of suitable homes and parents, and the lack of education. But I think those three other issues go in with the three main issues I'm going to talk about. So for abuse, I believe that the lack of suitable homes and parents are one of the main issues we have with abuse. And I think to solve this, we could require more training for families who want to become foster families. We could also have more unannounced home visits to see how children are being treated by these parents. And I also think we could meet with the children if they're old enough and have them talk to us about their time there and how they feel they are being treated and what they think would be better for them. Now, I know the foster care system is hard because these children are taken from their families and put with these strangers, and some of them are gonna be like, everything's awful, no one's nice to me, and there's gonna be lies. But I think there's some children who are in the program who will tell the truth and who really will help the system if we find out what's going on behind closed doors. The second issue is getting kicked out at the age of 18. That has to do with the lack of funding we have too. So we take these children from their families and we put them with these strangers and expect them to stay there and behave and listen to them and follow the rules of that family and adapt to their rules and living. But at age 18, we're going to kick them out. And how do we expect them to live on their own then and get a job for themselves and keep going to school if they're on their own? There's no way that we can possibly think that that's a good idea. So for this issue, I believe that if we can increase funding, we can keep these kids in here longer. Also, we need to teach them how to live on their own while they're in the program. We need to teach them how to get a job, how to apply for a job, how to hold a job, what requirements do you need as a person to get a good interview, and how you dress and everything like that. Also, how to cook for themselves, how to provide food, how to clean their laundry, how to do all that stuff. And assuming they do know how to cook some food and clean and stuff, but I still believe that it would be a good idea to help these kids and teach them how to do these things if we're expecting them to live on their own. And the third issue is not staying in place for very long. I just don't see how we can expect children to adapt to a family and be happy at a place if we're moving them from place to place to place over and over again. And that's where the lack of education comes in. How are we supposed to expect them to stay in school and do well in school if we're moving them constantly? And moving them from family to family could also mean moving them from school to school. And how are they going to succeed if they're not staying in that classroom environment for very long and having to adapt not only to a new home but to a new school and to new teachers and to new policies? So I just think that there has to be a better way if we're going to have to, and sometimes we do have to move them. There's families that aren't going to work out for these children, or the children are going to get to go back home to their families, and then they're not going to anymore, but the family they were with is full now and they have to go somewhere else. So I just think if we do have to move them constantly, then let's try to find someone who's in that school district still so they can still stay in that school district, or find a way to keep them in that school district to keep their education up. I chose this topic because I really feel strongly about it. I want to become a foster care parent one day, or even adopt a child. I did a project on it for another class, and I went to a training on how to become a foster parent and all the things you have to do to throughout the time you are a parent. And it surprised me how much how easy it is to become. Like, you only need a certain number of hours of training, which I think should be increased. You get house inspections. There's certain rules for certain ages of kids that you can have. But so it was a neat training, but it really opened my eyes to, wow, we have a lot of issues in this system. I also have family friends that became foster parents, and they got a little girl. Like, I think she was 2 days old, and they ended up adopting her on her second birthday. But there were issues trying to keep her, and the state wanted to take her away and put her with someone else so she could go with her family. But her family was in no way was going to get her back. So it was just very heartbreaking to see them try to take this little girl out of this caring family's hands and put her in someone else's who might not treat her the same way. And I also have neighbors down the street from my house who are foster parents, and they are the opposite of my family friends. There have been issues with these parents, and we have reported, and our neighbors have reported, and nothing is done. The kids break into other houses for food. One time we heard they were on vacation, and they came back and told us they came through their window to get food, and their fridge was empty when they got back. They're just not treated right. They're always running in the street. Like, you have to drive so slow so you don't hit them, because you never know when one of them are going to jump out. I just don't think they're taught well. I don't think they're taught hygiene. I think there's a lot that needs to be done in that house and probably more houses around to get these kids what they need. So that's what motivated me to choose this and why I believe these are problems. We want the foster care systems in place because we want to find them a better place. But some of these homes are worse situations than they already were in. So I think it is a huge deal that we need to focus on finding them a place that will benefit them and not make them more miserable and tempted to follow in their parents' footsteps. So for utilitarianism, that goal is to find happiness, and the only way to find happiness is pleasure. And if it's not pleasurable, then it's not morally right. Well, some of these houses that these kids are in are not giving them pleasure. They're finding pain. So it's morally wrong. And so utilitarianism would not agree with this system we have, and there needs to be changes. Also, Kant would not believe in this system either, because he believes that everyone needs to benefit from it for it to be morally right. And obviously there's going to be times where kids are not going to benefit from being put in the foster care system. But I believe there's ways, if we all work together, that we could find ways to find them pleasure and to benefit them. So that's what I'm researching, and that's what my paper will be about.